So yep, here comes another video for today. I was just recorded the previous video and I thought why not to upload two videos today. So the next video we are going to talk about is how to improve your English, of course. So the English is a very useful language as we come in the today's. I will not say it is the most useful or something like that. Of course it is useful, but not in some relative sense. In influential sense, of course it is a very powerful and broadly useful language. However, from my perspective, they are as an Indian, the three languages which are most influential and more powerful are first Hindi, that is as the mother tongue, and it makes you, or the mother tongue of your language, so it can make you able to connect with your community and all. And then there is English, in order to connect to the whole world and everything. And then there is one language which I think is pretty underrated and holds a very big potential in this world. Even there are negligible amount of readers and users of it, but still this language is actually one of the most I will not say underrated, it is like fairly rated enough, but it is just praised, not in action or something most of the time I see. And that language will be Sanskrit. It is the language which can make you communicate to the holy literatures. And I'm not going into something like a very religious thing like it that you will become some god-like thing, or of course not. But from what I have seen is that the Hindu scriptures are one of the, as from the knowledge perspective, are one of the most biggest source of knowledge. And sorry, I was just afraid someone is coming upside or something. And yep, from what I have perceived, that this language has a lot of potential, and even I will be going to learn this language after my 12th boards are when I will pass the 12th board, and that will be in 2025 or something. Yep, 2025. And this so it was not the main topic of our video. Our main topic of the video is how to learn English as fast as possible. So there are 3 steps to basically learn the language. First is, I think you all are good enough to tell things like, you guys are most of you are able to communicate in English, as we are able to understand the English I am speaking right now, or else you would have left the video as soon as you have clicked. However, I think you are able to understand the audio I am trying to say right now, but you are not just fluent in this thing. Like if I just hold something like this and I ask you what is this, you can tell it is a pen. If I hold this and I ask you what is this, you can tell it is a pencil. If I hold this and ask you what is this, you can tell it is a scale. So fair enough English. However, you are just not good at speaking it. You are not just able to collect the words that you want to speak at that time, or maybe if that is not the point, you are not able to know what to speak and how to speak it. You are just not able to arrange the word at the right time, and you are not able to deliver the whole thing at the same speed. So it really raptures your vocabulary skills and all. So I will go from the whole beginner thing to the advanced level in this video. Of course, I think if you have grown enough, if you are like 16-year-old or something, and most of you will be in English medium, so most of you would have read English text and everything. And if you haven't, the first thing I will suggest to you right now, as I can say most of you know the basic words in English, and the first step to learn English is to watch podcast. So podcast is like It tells you the pronunciation of things, how do they pronounce it. Of course it should be of a good person to of course watch. And if you can watch podcasts of Englishmen who are speaking, you will be eventually be good enough. That's how I started by Andrew Tate. I know it may sound cringe to you, but Andrew Tate was the first guy who was the foreigner I ever subscribed to and followed to. And he was the guy who, because of him, I eventually got good at understanding English, and I was able to speak fluently. And he was the guy who made me do this thing. So first, the first of course, Andrew, there are many videos of Andrew Tate and all. I'm not saying you to follow Andrew Tate or something. I'm just saying you to follow any man podcast which you think is good for you, which will be good for you. Of course, you have the internet, you can search it up. There are many free podcast, paid podcast. I don't care, whatever thing you do with podcast, just go and listen a podcast which you find is comfortable or suitable for you, which you think is best for you, and the one that matters for you. That is all. So that will be the first step to learn the pronunciation and how do we speak this thing. The second step is to read the newspapers. I know it may sound very very bad, but that why we should read newspaper is all full of crime and something. So of course you have to learn the art of detachment, and of course at the same time you are going to find new words, because the newspaper, of course the English newspaper like I have right now on my hand, the Times of India, these newspapers are full of many words, and they also increase your GKGS. So from this thing, I'm not saying you to buy any book. You don't have to buy any book. The cheapest way to read news, to get into a paper source, of course a knowledge source, and to read English is a newspaper. I don't think there is any book or any magazine which is cheaper than a newspaper. Like they are of 4-5 rupees at, or 10 rupees at max, I think, the newspapers. Yep, sorry, so I have cut that video in between because I was gone for the dinner, and sorry if there is some cut. So yet we were on the topic of the newspaper. So of course you don't have to read the whole goddamn newspaper because it is too lengthy to read. Of course, as a beginner, if you don't have even a single brain cell of your thing into reading a newspaper, I will not suggest you to read the whole newspaper, but at least you can read the front page. That is the least you can do. Of course, when I'm saying this is not anything sponsored, okay, I am not sponsoring anyone. You can read any company's newspaper, I don't care, but like don't read like this page. I have no hate toward the company or anything. This is just a presentational video to tell you you don't have to read these ads or something. I don't care. You have to read the page which has some like things written in it, like this page, like there are some things written. Of course there is a broad edit in between, but there are some things written in this page. If you can read just that front page, the page on which the bold heading are written, if you can just read. I'm not sponsoring Times of India, nor I'm against the ad or something. It is necessary to have ads in order to provide these newspaper at such a cheap cost. Of course, I understand that, and you should know at the same time that it is not about how much you can read in a single day. It is about reading every single day. If you will read newspapers every goddamn single day, just the front page, and you will eventually progress. I am sure you will, because, and it is like something even your parents will allow. If you will tell your parents that I want to read an English newspaper, I don't think there is some loss in it, because I think even parents understand that yes, English is a very valuable language to know, and if the and even if you are a kid, your parents will definitely allow for it. I don't think there is some money kind of thing which you can lack. Of course you will have enough money to buy a newspaper, or else you wouldn't be on YouTube to watch these kinds of videos and things. So yes, that is the brutally thing I was saying. So we have talked about two things. The first one is podcast, and of course There is no such thing as that you have to, you know, I would say that like it is the first tag podcast, it may be that you are good enough to, even listen to the English. Like if you are able to listen to me right now, as I'm right now speaking, so I think you are good enough. You don't need any podcast to hear for starting anything before this. But if you are not able to comprehend with me, and yeah, I think most of you would have left this video by the time now. But if you think you are not able to comprehend me by the time of this, so I will recommend you to watch some podcast at least for one to 2 months at least. And I will not say you to completely quit it. You can sometimes watch it. It is on your will or wish to watch those things. However, it will be a very good pointing start for you if you don't have any such pronunciation knowledge or any vocabulary knowledge about English. And then the newspapers, it can act as a literature, a source from which you can read. It is the cheapest source, and it will also enhance your knowledge, general knowledge. And the third thing I will say will be quite controversial for some people, I would say. And of course it is not going to be, of course some people will say, where's the grammar in there, where's the grammar? And I will say, I am not preparing you for some competition exams, so grammar really doesn't matter. All it matters is that you are able to communicate with the other side. And if you are good at that, if you are able to exceptionally deliver the content without any fluctuations, and without any, even I'm at the lack of the word right now, without any disruption, I think. And yes, disruption will be the right word. Disruption. So I wouldn't mind it, because grammar is like the last kind of thing you should learn. If you are learning English by learning grammar, you're not going to go a lot of way through this, my friend. Because even I have tried to learn grammar through various books and all, but it is all has been failed miserably. And the first thing you have to learn is how to speak, and then how to just read by just viewing the newspaper, like I said in the by doing that by newspaper. And the third thing won't be a grammar book, but it will be thesaurus. A thesaurus is a more of a antonym synonym book list. And the best one out here is by the Oxford, of course, the Oxford Dictionary, or sorry, not the dictionary, it is the Oxford Thesaurus and Dictionary. So it is like a thesaurus, like synonyms and antonyms list. But believe me, like poets use it, but if you are at like lack of words, and you sometimes, most of the times, most of the words you will, like if you have read newspaper for quite a while, so you will have a quite good vocabulary. So you don't need to go and vocabulary things by reading newspaper. And of course, as I will say dictionary, you don't need any such pocketbook dictionary or something. You have a mobile phone which is good enough to do the job of the dictionary. Of course, I wouldn't say the Google is always right in the terms of dictionary. However, the only book I will suggest you to buy is a thesaurus. And thesaurus, however, is a very expensive book. I think it comes near 2000 rupees or something. It is a very broad book, and it takes a very long time to read. However, it will be worth it. The thesaurus is one of the books which has like many antonyms synonyms, so you can really exchange those words with another, a fancy, we can say a fancy word or some complicated word, in order to make it sound more formal, or that psychological things, that it will leave an effect of you being a big person or something. Or you can rhyme the things by using those languages and all. So yep, it will be definitely on your side. And after doing these three things, the podcast, the newspaper, or any literature if you can get your hands on, and of course the thesaurus is like an optional thing to do, cause most of the time we just get an idea about the things, but thesaurus will really just boost your this. Or else you will have to read the newspaper for maybe more than, like, I cannot even guess, but it will take like 4 to 5 times more time if you don't have a thesaurus, if you just read newspaper. Like, just just by talking and reading newspapers or any literature in English, and just viewing people saying in English is all that you will ever need in order to be good in English. However, as we speak right now, many of you will be like, "Ki, why didn't you included grammar in it and all?" But the basic thing is, it is like a common sense. So if you will read newspaper, you will get how does how do we have to frame these sentences. Of course, you will not be always grammatically correct, but you have to recognize most of us won't be grammatically correct if you are just referring it to an audience or something. So it doesn't really matter to be whole grammatically correct in everything. And if you think that you have to send some email, and how you will do it, there are many AI generated in Grammarly, I think, is one of them. It is not sponsored by that website, but I think it is one of the websites which you can you will type a sentence and it will check if it is grammatically correct, or it will you know give you suggestions regarding how to correct it and what should be there instead and all. And then, and even then, like, if you are in some formal meetings, or you are some like really big chairperson kind of person who has to be grammatically correct even at the same time. So we will go into, you don't have to be a very advanced grammatian, a very advanced kind of person in grammar, I would say. Even if you have the basic, like the basic, yeah, the basic most knowledges, of course I wouldn't say you will have to read 10 or 5 grammar books like the literature guys do. You just have to read, I think there is just a single grammar book that I will recommend it to you, and that will suffice all the need of your grammar. And if you are living in India, that will be the Brennan Martin grammar book. That book alone is indeed complete and will suffice all your need for you know the grammar. You won't need any other book than that for grammar, at least. If you can just go through that whole book, like that high school grammar, I think it is something like that. If you can just go through that book for once, like you should be reading newspaper for like some weeks of while you buy this book, and then you start reading it, so you will be able to relate it with the literature, the applications of it, when you just go into the literature and see it. So it wouldn't be really hard for you to pick up on things, of course, and you will become like really great in English. Of course, I won't say I'm really great in English, because even right now I'm still at the learning stage, and this whole video is just a way of me progressing my communication skill, at least in English, which will make me, I think, a better communicator in English. And I will eventually, I'm on the I think the second stage, the newspaper stage, I was talking about, and the thesaurus stage is going to come soon. The thesaurus stage, and then at the last, the grammar. Or maybe the grammar and thesaurus can go like in spontaneously. It doesn't have to go like first step, then second step, then third step. I can just jump at third, fourth at the same time. It doesn't have to go as only one step at a single time. I can be on all the 4 steps at the same time. It doesn't have to follow any certain sequence like that. Of course, I wouldn't recommend you to go straight to the grammar unless you don't have any knowledge about the literatures and thing. Now when I speak of literature, I don't mean you to read some Roman English thing like the Hamlets of Shakespeare or something. I mean by some books, some good books on philosophies or something. Like right now I have read a self-improvement book. It was a good book. It was named Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. I have the hardcover version. Let me just show you. This is the book right here. One of the brilliant book I have ever read, and I think this is my only self-improvement book that I have bought. And I don't think I will be buying his other editions like The Obstacle is the Way and Stillness is the Key and the other ones. But I think this one is very good. It is a really good book to have. It has really, you know, told me something that I really wanted to know. It is a specifically a really good book. I found it really good, really good. Of course, it goes around, very basic philosophies of life, but still, it is a very good book to read. And here, I'm not promoting this book by any chance, it is not a paid promotion or something. It is just my personal suggestion that it is a really good book. You can buy it from anywhere, I don't care. And yep, that is all for today's video. I think for today is another video. And thank you for watching.